Alright, so if you can open up just a blank InDesign file, we're going to go over a continuation of our InDesign lecture. New document. I'll just do a regular letter size. Alright, just the one thing to remember to change is the inches on both. And if you can go to assignment 4, the assignment 4 folder, InDesign sample, Armory. And if you can throw in the Armory plan, just make sure you do the Illustrator file, not the Photoshop file. So one big question that a lot of students were having, a lot of you guys were having, was the quality of some of these, of some of your files, some of your PDF files, or some of your Illustrator files. Right? So like if you zoom in, the quality is really bad. It's just horrible. And that's just the way InDesign works. It does this for efficiency. If you want to see what the real quality is going to look like, just go up to View, check where it says Overprint Preview. And a couple things you'll notice is, one, the quality is the way it should look, but then you'll also notice that the blue box disappears when you're not hovering over it. And it'll show you the way your layout should actually look without having a bunch of boxes in here. But if you have an entire layout with a bunch of images, your InDesign file tends to run much slower. So that is one of the reasons why this is built in. If you uncheck it, it obviously goes back to a really poor quality, but it also runs so much faster. That's why InDesign is nice to have for layouts. But let me just explain a little bit more about what this blue box is. So I unchecked the overprint preview. Right, so if I select this image, and if I were to, adjust one of the corner points, I would think I'm adjusting the actual size, so I can, hold down Shift, and I'm thinking I'm making the image smaller. But in reality, I'm not. What I'm doing is I'm adjusting the size of the window that's actually looking into the image. Right. So when you want to adjust the size of an object that you have in Illustrator in InDesign, normally what I do is I select the object, and I come over here where I have the 100%, and I'll select, say for example, 50% or 75%, and I can make this image a little bit smaller. Or if I want to go into smaller or larger increments, I can just click, and then it can go into a smaller or larger increment. Right, because essentially what this is doing, it's really only allowing us to see, or allowing us to adjust the window, and essentially whatever's inside the window does not change, right? And another thing you'll notice is every time you hover over an image, you'll see this little circle. If you click on that circle, what it's doing is it's moving the image inside that window. So at this point you'll notice you'll have two color squares or rectangles, a blue one and a brown one. Right, so the blue one is the size of your window. The brown one is the actual size of the actual image. Right, and I could actually move it around so to the point where I can only see part of the floor plan, and I can scale the blue image up a little bit larger now. So again, whenever you see that circle pop up and you click on it, you're actually moving the image that's inside that window. Right? And if you have an older version of InDesign that you're using, the white arrow does the same thing. You can click on the white arrow, and you click over here on the image, and what it's doing is it's moving the image inside that window frame, I guess, if you want to call it. All right, so just get a little bit more practice on this one. If you can put in this one where it says Akonchi Armory process images. So what this is just one Photoshop file that has several renderings. Again, just to get a little bit more practice on this one, if you can just take that one rendering and separate it into 5 different separate files, so you can actually move them around. All right, so there's one. I'm gonna copy this one. Hold down Alt, so I can copy it over. And now that I have the copy, I want to see something different. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna click on that middle circle, and I'm gonna drag it to see something else. All right, I'm gonna copy that one. Hold down Alt with the black arrow tool, move it, and I'm gonna see a different part of it. Again, copy it by holding down Alt. And if you click and drag, if you hold it for like a split second, for half a second, you can actually see like a little ghosted view of what's inside there. So it makes it a little easier to move things around. And I'll do that one last time. Alt to copy and get that last rendering that's in there. And now what I can do is, now that I have those as 5 separate renderings, I could actually rearrange them differently than the actual layout that I have, right? Because if I were to import it like this, I would actually have to use it in this manner, right? But now that I've separated them into separate images, I can rearrange them however I want, or I could actually put them on different pages, right? So if I come over here to Pages, click on it, you can either click on Create a New Page, little icon, or you can right-click and say Insert Pages. I normally like to do the Insert Pages because it allows me to do multiple pages, right? I can do, say for example, 2 pages after page 1. And it gives me 2 pages. And the one thing you have to remember is InDesign was mostly or mainly used for magazine book printouts, layouts. So if you always think of that first page as your cover page, right? And then the pages that follow are the actual pages of your book or your magazine. Right, but now I can take these individual images and move them around, so I don't have to stay with the same layout that I had previously. Right, and again, if you zoom in on any one of these, you'll notice that the quality is not that great. But if you just go to View Overprint, you'll see that it snaps to a better quality of the image. Again, just the one thing to keep in mind, always working in this mode tends to slow your computer down a little bit. So it's just great to see what it'll look like as an overall layout. But then obviously when you want to work a little quicker, just uncheck that. So another thing you'll notice in here is, let's see, right over where you have pages, you'll also have, well, obviously you have layers, which is very similar to layers that we've been working in, but you'll also have one that's called links. And the way InDesign works, as I was explaining before, if you were to save this file, I'm just going to save mine on my desktop. Right, and if I were to take this one InDesign file and move it to a different computer, all these images would not show up with it, right? Because all these images are being linked inside this file. Right, and the nice thing about using links is, one, it keeps your it keeps your InDesign file really small, which is a lot easier to work with, right? But the other nice thing about it is you can individually change these files, and that'll automatically show up differently in InDesign. So what I mean, let's try this. Let's go back to graduate InDesign sample graduate. And let's throw in, let's do this one, graduate thesis hero. Let's put this one in there. I'm going to put this one in its own separate page, insert page after 4. I just want 1. Nope. Sorry, I got the numbers backwards. 1 page after 4. There it is. Okay, so I zoom in here. I go over here to my links, and I can see that I have a couple links in here, right? It's telling me that I have this one image. If I say go to link, that's the image that it belongs to. This one has parentheses with 5, because this is the one that has that one image, but we actually broke it up into the 5 separate images, right? And this is the last one that we just imported, graduate hero. And one thing you'll notice down here is it says no errors, right? But what I want to do is I want to change this file. So one thing I can do is I can go over here to open this up in Photoshop. Just drag it into Photoshop. I'm going to turn on these 2 layers. So I have this person here with a shadow. And just save it. I can close this. Come back here. And now what I see is I have 1 error. So essentially what it's telling me is there's a file that used to be in here that it's still in here, but now it's different. Obviously it's different because I've saved it. And if I go over here to my links, it's telling me that something's been changed. So if I want to update it, I just have to select the image, select the layer, and go over here and go to update link. And now it updates it to the correct way it should look. Or you could also just do this within InDesign. Right, so if you just select this image, go to Edit Original. Because it's a Photoshop file, it automatically shows up in Photoshop. I could turn these layers off, save it, close it, and as soon as I go back into InDesign, it automatically updates. And I don't have to relink everything because I opened it directly from, or started editing it directly from InDesign. So that's the one nice thing about having all these files that are linked. You could always go back there and change them, and they'll either update automatically in InDesign, or if you notice that there's errors down here, just click on the layer and just update the link. So on the next video, we'll go over some more parts of InDesign.